For some people, standing in front of a room feels like walking into a spotlight they never asked for. The words are ready, but the energy takes a little time to deliver and can feel overwhelming. Now, on today's show, we're exploring how introverts can manage high pressure presentations and even turn their natural strengths into powerful communication advantages. And we've got someone who's made it her mission to help introverts fulfill their potential, showing that influence doesn't always have to come from the loudest voice in the room. You ready? Let's go.
The Presentation Whisperer. Real-world tips, expert insights, and proven strategies to make every presentation unforgettable. Now, here's your host, professional speaker, and best-selling author, Rob Jellis.
Today's guest, Tanya Lehman, is an educator, speaker, and entrepreneur who champions effective communication. She shares practical techniques drawn from diverse experiences to elevate public speaking for both introverts and extroverts. She delivers value-driven talks on communication mastery, goal setting, courage, and creativity with, as she puts it, infectious enthusiasm. I'm going to let her take it from here because she'll do a better job of telling you about herself than I will. So welcome to the show, Tanya. Tell us about your journey.
Hey there, Rob. Hello, audience. I am an introvert. I'm a quiet person. I'd much rather let other people do the talking. I enjoy people. I enjoy people's company. I have lots of friends and family that I like spending time with, but I'm never the one that's doing all the talking. But there are times when you do need to speak up. There are times when you do need to let your values be understood, your needs met, your ideas heard. And so I realized that I couldn't just be the quiet person. I couldn't just prepare what I wanted to say in my mind and then never say it. So over time and practice, I've developed 3 different techniques to help introverts to gain the skills and confidence to speak up, getting their ideas heard, their values understood, and their needs met. Of course, there's another aspect to that too. The leaders in the room need to be aware of the space that an introvert needs to feel comfortable in speaking up. So those are the 2 aspects of where I see I can help people out.
Good. Just as an aside, when I was at Xerox and we learned how to run meetings, one of the things that we did, and we were very process driven, so we were always following a process. We had a timekeeper, we had a process guide, we had a scribe, we had a leader, but it was required that we rotate our leaders, that everyone becomes a leader. And we had the term process guide, just so you know, was somebody that was basically patrolling the meeting in a sense, being a little bit on the outside of the meeting, making sure that people weren't being shut out, making sure that people were being brought in, making sure that some people who were over communicating were pushed back a little bit so that the leaders could lead, the people could function, but that we had sort of a conscience of the group going. And it was a wonderful environment, I believe, particularly for introverts, because we had a process in place that made sure that everyone was participating. We weren't looking for a quota system. You didn't have to answer the exact same number of questions, but we just wanted to make sure that we were welcoming you in. Because sometimes we extroverts, and I'm a card-carrying extrovert, we can get very excited about things and we think we're helping you. But that said, I think that, if I can stray onto your side, that many introverts, and I coach a lot of people, so I find that they're telling me, hey, speaking isn't my thing. I've got, I have to perform it, I can do it, it's not my thing. And I think there's some fear involved. What misconceptions do you think they're running with that might fuel that fear? Because I think there are misconceptions here.
Yes, definitely there are. I do want to hop back on when you said you had the process person in the meetings, because when a leader is running a meeting, they're thinking of so many things, so many agenda items. That's such a brilliant thing that you had
Yeah.
a process person on the outside looking in, kind of keeping things, being aware of things that somebody in charge just can't pay attention to because they have so many things on their plate. All right, to your question, There is a mistaken belief that speaking is a natural talent. Oh, he's a born speaker. She's born to be on stage. I could never be like her because I don't have that talent. Okay, well, the truth is that speaking is a skill that can be learned, and every single person can learn that. We just have to get over that self sabotage. Well, it's not for me. I'm not good at it. So I'll just try really hard, but then I will hate every minute of it. And don't ask me to present again.
Yeah, I hang out with a few authors from my publisher. I for some reason, and we'll call them out, Barrett Cole, a wonderful publisher. For some reason, I think they're a little top heavy on books on introverts and extroverts. I'm only saying it because every time I get together with these people, half the room seem to be writing about this, but they're
Oh,
always, uh, I won't say yelling at me, but they're always correcting me rather forcefully when I see them present or do something. I go, "Hey, I thought you were an introvert." And they go, "Rob, how many times do we have to tell you? It may not be natural for us, but we can learn process behaviors,
oh, yes.
perform this, and we're not miserable doing it. It's just not something that we'd say, I don't have anything else to do. Why not present and get up in front of the room?" Because I think we extroverts see things very black and white. You're either into it or you're not into it. No, we can enjoy it too. But we need a few process behaviors, as you just said, to kind of help us along. And then I'm going to let you take over and tell me where I'm right or wrong. But I think that's where most people get it wrong. And I'm constantly corrected that it's not that they can't do it and not enjoy doing things that an extrovert would do. It's just not first on the shopping list.
That's right. Rob, I was at a meeting. I was a guest at a meeting, and it was one of those things where everyone went around the room and said what they did. And then it was to help develop business ideas. And I said, "Oh, I'm a speaking confidence coach. I help introverts gain the skills and confidence to speak up for personal growth and professional impact." And a man in the room blurted out, "Well, you just have to tell your introverts to be like me. They just need to say things right away. They need to always volunteer. They need to speak every single meeting at least 3 times. They need to volunteer to be the one." I'm no, no, I want to protect my introverts from people like you. We are not, to be successful does not mean an introvert has to become an extrovert.
Right.
To be successful means an introvert needs to suppress the inner critic. That is so huge. The self-doubt. I was at a networking event and a man asks me, "Well, what do you do?" And of course, I have an elevator pitch through an audience participation presentation. I provide people with secrets to speaking up for personal growth and professional impact. And he said, "Oh, what high school did you go to?" What I'm thinking, why does he want to know what high school I went to? Is there a cool high school? Is he going to make fun of the name of my high? I could not answer, and I felt like an idiot. Who's going to hire me if I can't answer a simple question? But Rob, I got caught up in self-doubt. I got caught up in overthinking. Why is he asking me these questions? And so part of the things I teach introverts is some skills when you're given an unexpected question. Right? I could have deflected. I could have, "Oh, interesting. What high school did you go to?" And then while he's answering, I can think, "Oh, okay, it's a safe thing to talk about. He's not trying to criticize me or whatever. We can just chat high school mascots or whatever." So I could have deflected. I can distract. Introverts can distract when you're given an unexpected question. My favorite is a compliment followed up with a question. "He had an interesting tie on." I could have said, "Oh, that's a cool tie. Where'd you get that?" Something like that.
Yeah. What I love that you're doing right now, and this is the Xerox guy in me, is
Mm-hmm.
I think there are process behaviors that are in place. I think we stylize them. but there are certain moves to be made. And one of them, just so you know, and again, just me wandering to the introvert side, but just so that everybody knows, I don't care which side of the fence we are on. I just interviewed a guy yesterday who's got some data on this that 40% of your audience already can't stand turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself or
Ah,
stand up and find a partner that could,
uh-huh.
that's not engagement. Okay. We think it is. So, and I'm not comfortable with it either. So, I think some of the nonsense kind of bothers both sides of them. But when you're working with with an introvert, uh, and I also want to say, even that label, it's like these personality profiles. I don't think we're 100% of anything. I'm
Agreed.
fairly social, but I'm analytical when I'm preparing a trip. I'm dominant a little bit when I'm talking in New York. We have a little bit of everything in us. So I don't think it's quite as black and white. But when we lean towards that side, where do you usually start when you're working with somebody on a presentation who is looking you in the eye and saying, I'm an introvert. I guess that sets me back a little bit, which might be the first misconception, but where do you usually start?
When someone is planning a presentation, a speech, a presentation, trying to explain something, I teach that three is the magic number. 3 points are pretty much all that your audience can remember. So organize your speech, organize your presentation, organize your talk with 3 points. To practice doing that with my introverts, I work on giving advice. So give a piece of advice, give 3 reasons why, and then conclude by saying, and that's why your piece of advice. So the fun thing to do is travel. Where should I go for vacation? And if you asked me that, Rob, I would say you should go to San Diego, California. The fish tacos are amazing. The beaches are beautiful. And the people are so friendly. And that's why you should go to San Diego, California. 3 points where you should go. And that's why you should go there.
Right.
Do you want to try?
Sure.
Okay. Give me some advice. Where should I travel to?
Um, how about you should travel to, where's one of my favorite? Denver, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you want me to do the three?
Three. Three is the magic number. 3 reasons.
I think you'll love the people there. You'll love the passion of the people there. And you'll certainly love being able to go 1 hour and get up into the mountains and really see some beautiful sights.
And that's why you should go
And
to Denver.
that's why you should go to Denver, Colorado.
Very good. Those 3 points are easy to remember. And playing these little speaking games helps introverts to organize their thoughts spontaneously and also then transfer that to when you have to give a talk or a presentation or convince somebody of something.
Yeah.
Organize with 3 is the magic number.
I love that. And I feel the rhythm of that too.
Mm.
As a writer, I tend to write in threes. When I stop, I'm more careful. AI loves, I think it's because it knows me and I've got a lot of books and writing out there. But when I lean on it, it comes back in threes and I go, I don't want threes from AI. I'm only taking two. But whenever I speak, it's always three.
Yes.
Because I do. I feel a sense of a rhythm. Let me throw something at you. And this is, remember, you're the expert. So what I love about this show is I'll tell you some of the things I do, and I'm either what we call an unconscious competent or an unconscious incompetent. Okay. But I want to
Okay.
run it by you. When I get somebody, and I don't necessarily put them in an introvert extrovert category, but I put them in an anxious category. They're anxious about their speaking. And maybe that's slightly different, but I tend to give them an activity, something to do when they get up there. Because most of us, whether we're an introvert, extrovert, whatever, once we go 2 or 3 minutes in front of an audience, all of us tend to calm down a little bit. Okay.
Mm-hmm. True.
I just wish I could get 3 minutes into this thing. So sometimes going up with a story, I think that's one of my favorite tricks. Not necessarily for me, but for somebody who's anxious of, well, before we even worry about anything, give me a great story about Denver, Colorado, if that's what the presentation is about. because most people can they'll still be anxious, but it's easier to tell a story. Doesn't require any PowerPoint, no clicker, no notes. I'm just
Hmm.
going to tell you the time that I got married in Colorado or whatever it was. And by the time they slide out of the story, there's a little momentum going. So sometimes it's a quote, an analogy, a poem, a story, an exercise for the audience, but basically taking the pressure off the curriculum per se or the
Hmm.
message and giving us a way to slide into it. All right. Am I doing harm
Excellent.
by doing this?
No, that's excellent advice. And audience, I mean, stories are so powerful. Stories are memorable. After this, maybe you'll remember about the guy who asked me what high school I went to, and how I struggled with that.
I will. I sure will. And that's what I love about stories. They're easy for us to tell. And now I got all the storytellers that are going to be sending me emails. They have to be crafted properly. There's a lot that goes into telling the right story. But I
Yes.
want to tell you, if you're having trouble getting your right foot in front of the left foot, there's nothing like going up and banging out a story early
Hmm.
on. Okay. So, but we'll perfect the story on another episode. Just
Right.
giving us something to do that doesn't say turn to page one or wherever we are, because that takes a little bit. Okay. Uh, and maybe I don't know whether introverts suffer from this, but I can tell you from the extrovert side, sometimes we have to manage our energy a little bit before we speak, even during we speak, quite frankly, after we speak. Yeah, there's three for you. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, do you find that when you're working with introverts that you have to help them manage their energy as well? And if so, are there some tips there?
Conferences can kill an introvert.
Right?
You've got the breakfast networking, you've got the breakout sessions, you've got the lunch session, then you've got the two breakout sessions, and then you have the evening social. And introverts need space and time just to be, just to go for a walk outside, or spend some time reading a book, or doing some yoga poses if that's your thing. And extroverts more thrive with that busyness and all the different people to meet and all the different people to talk to. And so if an introvert is presenting in maybe the fourth breakout session of the long day, I tell them, okay, you just have to skip the third breakout session. Take that time and go outside and sit by yourself. Because otherwise, when you're on, your energy will not be at the right level, and you won't be at your best.
Great advice. Really good advice. And from the extrovert side, I can tell you that I've always visualized almost like I'm a racehorse, just being walked around the paddock right before a presentation.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm going to load and I'm going to run a one heck of a race. I'm not nervous.
Uh-huh.
I'm anxious. I want the race to begin. And sometimes I really have to. You think of 40 years of doing this, I wouldn't, but I just need a little bit of space. As much as a people person I am, I need that space. And so I
Ah.
think there's an instinct to want to be in that room right
Uh-huh.
beforehand. And I love the idea of taking yourself out a little bit because also people are going to come up and ask questions and you can lose your focus a little bit. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden your name's getting called. So
Right.
I think the instinct is to be in there. And we all want them in there at 6:30. Check your visuals, get all that. Let's get some of the unknowns knocked down. That'll calm us down. But I do like breaking the instinct of thinking you have to be there, every second of the way. Uh, Take yourself out, give yourself some time, and just think happy thoughts, as we say. And my visualization, and I recommend for other people, is the best visualization I have, or the best question. What usually happens when we're put in this situation? What usually occurs? I've never had anybody say, "Oh, the room blows up and everything power goes out." Oh yeah, every time I do this, it ends up better than I thought. And so
Mhm.
that's to me a very nice visualization. Also, what tends to happen when we're put in this situation?
The audience is on your side.
Oh yeah,
The audience wants you to succeed.
Yep. And we have proof of that. And the proof is, I'm going to make it sound a little selfish, but the proof is that it's in their best interest for them to want you to succeed. Most people will go,
Mm-hmm.
I hope the speaker's bad. That way I won't learn anything and I'll be bored to tears. Who's thinking that? Most of us would before you even know it, going, "Well, I hope this guy Jollis knows what he's talking about, because I could be doing other things right now." So I reframe that a little bit nicer, but I'm 100% with you. I think it's in their best interest. But again, what's our instinct? Our instinct isn't to think that way. Okay,
Mm-mm.
this is logical, but it's not instinctive. Now we're going to make it instinctive. That's what I like. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, let's flip it a little bit. Let's go with a half full. Okay, we've talked about things that an introvert would need, maybe that they're battling, and you've showed them some great ideas. What do you think that maybe an introvert, maybe they don't even know it, comes to this type of environment, maybe with an unexpected advantage that an extrovert would not have? Riddle me that one.
Introverts love planning and organizing and researching. So most likely going into an event, you are so prepared. You are over prepared. The problem is you get caught in the details, and that's why, three. You don't need everything. So, but you are prepared. You are the expert. You know what you're talking about. That is something that we should believe before we get on stage.
Yeah, I agree. And can I remember, this is the junior Rob where I throw up my ideas at you.
Okay.
But I've noticed this. I think I've got some good case studies on this one. I've noticed in meetings, not necessarily presenting, but in meetings, I've noticed that the introverts tend to listen a lot better, because they're not necessarily, we extroverts are kind of going, what am I going to say next? We're on also we're like a chessboard. We're a couple moves ahead and missing the moves that are being made right now. So that's to our disadvantage. Am I wrong to think that maybe an introvert would naturally be a little bit better at kind of listening and assessing, where we want to just bust in, right or
What you
wrong on
just
that one?
what you described is exactly true,
Hmm.
except when in this meetings, everybody will have to answer the same question. If you've ever been to like a Zoom
Hmm.
breakout room where everyone has to answer the same question, okay, well, your introvert is not going to hear a single thing that anyone else says because they're rehearsing what they're going to say. Once it's their turn and they say it, now they hear what's happening afterwards. So, to overcome that, either in a meeting or in a Zoom thingy, I tell introverts jot down one word for what your idea is. If it's a standing meeting, so anyway, so you have that one word that's going to remind you what you want to say. And so you don't have to rehearse. You can just listen to the people before you until it's your turn and then got that word. If it's like a standing meeting and everyone has to contribute an idea to solve the problem of the messy stockroom, okay, well, your idea is labels. So make a little L with your hand and put it behind your back because you don't have a little piece of paper to write labels down. And now you can listen to everyone. And when it's your turn, you remember labels is what I'm going to talk about. And if somebody already mentioned labels, then say, I agree with what so and so said.
Love that. Yeah, I do. I'm thinking about, this last authors retreat or it might have been two retreats ago. This is a classic retreat move. So presenters, listen up. Uh, let's officially bury this idea of we're going to go around the room with two or three questions that have been written on a flip chart. And I'm not talking about just your name and where you're from, but something that you want to get out of this. The creative third question. I was at a retreat where we had 62 people in a circle, and we went
Oh,
around. First of all, it took some icebreaker. This thing took like an hour and a half. Okay.
yeah.
And and we've actually tested out of the 62 people because we were dealing a lot with introverts and extroverts. I think there were three official extroverts in the room, 59 introverts. I'm now listening to you, imagining I wasn't happy with it. Okay. And I was 50th in line trying to,
Mhm.
I wasn't making L's behind my back. I was trying to think of what else is there that hasn't been taken. Okay.
Yeah.
And am I going to make this clever or not? Uh, which, by the way, what happened to learning about the other 50 people? Nah, never heard a word. Never heard
Right?
a word. I spent an hour and 10 minutes preparing what clever, weird thing I was going to come up with. I hadn't been used yet.
Ugh,
Anyway, I think,
agony.
yeah, let's bury that from a presentation side of things. I don't know anybody who really likes that one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Coming down the home stretch, we get into a dark moment. Um, let's say that we have an unexpected moment, where just something goes south on that stage or in that meeting, and we've got to recover. And sometimes it can be just sort of a clumsy Q&A session, just something. Uh, any thoughts on how on tips to recover when things don't quite go our way? And this, I don't think really has an introvert or an extrovert flair to it. I think we're all miserable, okay, and trying to, which is an issue because we really don't want to be miserable. We certainly don't want to show it. But any thoughts on maybe how to handle the unexpected moments that scar the presentation, at least in our mind?
Hmm. Okay, so I'm going to take it back further before this presentation fail happens. The best thing that I've found for anybody is improv. I joined an improv club, and every single time that I drove to the club, I dreaded it. I was coming up with excuses to turn around and go home. And then when I got to the improv club meeting, I would sit in the very back and keep my head down and hope they didn't call on me. And every time I would get called on once and I would go up, and then the drive home, I'd be so happy and I'd be going over what I said and what I'll say next time. And everyone laughed and it was fun. And even though I didn't have the right answer, it was still okay. And now I'm on the leadership for that improv club. And I teach improv at the local senior center. So improv teaches you that that presentation fail, it's not a fail. It's just something to move past. It teaches you that getting up in front of people, introvert, extrovert, whatever, you will be able to keep the meeting going, keep the story going, keep the presentation going, no matter what happens. If lightning strikes the tree outside and it falls down, well, you'll be able to look at that lightning struck tree and comment on it into your presentation because you have practiced spontaneously saying things with improv. If somebody is rude and frequently ask a question that's just rude, that can be like so awful and make you, but if you have improv experience, you can banter and dismiss and even insult them back if it's appropriate and keep things going.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're right. I actually interviewed actors at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, New York, Second
Mhm.
City in Chicago, trying to actually incorporate some of the improv techniques they were using for salespeople who were trying to come up with questions and think a little bit quicker on their feet. So
Ah.
really got a taste of the improv community. And I think that you're right. Many presentations, even if we've done them many times, there is a huge element of improv in there. And quite frankly, I hope there is, because
Mm.
that's the part that the audience tends to appreciate when they know that didn't just come off a slide.
Ah.
I think we need to remind ourselves, at the weddings we've attended and functions where no matter how well planned, there's always that 10% that doesn't go right. And when we handle it correctly, not crestfallen, but handle it with, by not necessarily making a joke out of it, but basically rolling with it. That's the part that people actually will remember, the
Mm.
part where you really fell into the improv. So I would leave that question just reminding people that the only really no in the presentation world when something goes south, no matter who you are, is never let the audience feel like you're feeling badly about it. In other words, you can't let the audience feel sorry for you. If you've
Oh.
stumbled and go, oh, I don't normally stumble, and now I've stumbled, it's like a movie theater where the lights just came on.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
it's hard to get back into that movie.
Hmm.
But when we stumble and say, want to see me do it again, but this time I'm going to do it with my left leg uh, and move on. Uh, it's a blip, but it's not only typically forgotten, but it might be remembered in a very fond way. So I hope everybody remembers that if that's the biggest thing we have to fear and it has the potential to be the best part of our presentation, what's next? See? All right,
Yes.
last one for you. We've
Okay.
got people listening. You put some wonderful ideas on the table for us today. If somebody's got a big presentation coming up, let's just give them one piece of advice that and let me set the stage for you. Big presentation coming up. It's not a presentation. It's a nuts and bolts. Maybe I'm in HR. It's our kickoff meeting, and the boss said I got 30 minutes. What and I this is not my cup of tea. What would be one piece of advice you might give them?
Call me. Let's work together. Let's because you need support. If this is not your cup of tea, you got 30 minutes to fill. Okay, I could say start with a story, do 3 points, and end with a story that ties back to the first story. But you really need that's like you telling me how to make a touchdown with you grab the football and you throw it to somebody. You can't just tell somebody, you have to work through
Yeah,
it,
put
you
on your
have to
favorite
do.
tie. Now we're done. I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
I've asked that question 42 times and no one has answered it that way. And I'm working with consultants all the time. I think that's that
Oh,
sales trainer in me wants to reach through the screen and shake your hand.
well,
Okay.
thank you.
I think that's the right answer. I think
Mhm.
we could give you an answer, but you're right. Wouldn't I need to know about your presentation? How many are in the audience? How long? Do they know each other? Do they know
Mm.
you? Which one of the 25 questions do you want me to answer? So I think that's the most honest answer I've ever heard. So let's follow that up. How do people get a hold of you?
Mhm. So I'm on LinkedIn and social media. Speak Up with Tanya. I have my tanyatalks.com is my website. My phone number 619-784-3344. My email is tanya@joylab.biz. My company is JoyLab. Joy is my default, happy,
Good.
and lab is life is an experiment. So that's my company. That's how you can reach me. Love
Perfect.
to find you.
And if you're looking for Tanya on LinkedIn, it's Lehman, if I've got that right. So Tanya,
Correct.
we know how to spell that one. Wonderful. Well, terrific job. You know what? I not that I'm trying to stump my guest, but I couldn't get one by you. And I love the answers that you gave, and thank you for letting me participate and throw some clumsy thoughts your way as well, and get them validated or cleaned up a little bit. So, terrific meeting you, and thank you so much for being on the show.
It's been fun, Rob. Thank you.
You bet. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please follow, rate, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. For more resources and to connect with Rob, visit thepresentationwhisperer.com.